Silence arrives the moment a decision stands in front of you and refuses to be ignored. No one rushes to help. No soundtrack swells. The weight settles in your chest because every option carries consequence. This moment exposes character more accurately than any speech or intention ever could. Comfort whispers delay while consequence waits patiently. Easy paths disguise themselves as mercy, yet they quietly collect interest. Hard paths announce their cost up front, demanding payment in effort, uncertainty, and pride. What separates those who advance from those who drift begins here, not talent, not luck. The willingness to choose discomfort when comfort offers immediate relief. Every serious turning point looks small from the outside, yet internally it feels seismic. A phone call not made, a habit not broken, a truth not spoken. These are not dramatic failures, but they accumulate. The mind remembers avoidance more vividly than it remembers struggle. Avoidance teaches the nervous system that safety matters more than growth. Growth never agrees with that bargain. The world does not reward potential. It responds to action taken under pressure. Each choice trains your future reactions. Choose easy often enough and difficulty starts feeling unbearable. Choose the harder route repeatedly and resistance becomes familiar terrain. Familiarity breeds control. Control breeds calm. Calm sharpens judgment. This is how difficult decisions quietly sculpt destiny without ceremony. Comfort rarely announces itself as danger. It feels reasonable. It sounds logical. It offers rest before effort and relief before completion. The trap lies in its timing. Rest offered too early dulls ambition. Relief accepted prematurely erodes resolve. When comfort leads, progress follows at a distance. People confuse peace with avoidance because both feel quiet at first. Only one sustains you when pressure arrives. The other collapses. Tough decisions demand patience because rewards lag behind effort. The nervous system protests this delay, craving immediate closure. That craving fuels impulsive choices that feel satisfying briefly and costly later. Discipline interrupts that pattern. Discipline does not remove discomfort. It assigns meaning to it. Meaning transforms strain into investment rather than punishment. When you understand what a decision builds, endurance replaces hesitation. You stop negotiating with yourself. You act because the cost of not acting becomes clearer than the pain of acting. This clarity arrives only after repeated exposure to difficult decisions. Each time you face one honestly, your tolerance expands. Each time you avoid one, the math never changes. Only awareness does. Responsibility reveals itself when excuses lose their appeal. Blame feels powerful for a moment because it shifts weight outward. That relief fades quickly, leaving stagnation behind. Ownership carries weight immediately, but returns strength over time. Strength earned through ownership does not fluctuate with circumstance. It steadies perception. You begin to see obstacles as problems to solve rather than injustices to resent. This shift alters behavior at a fundamental level. You stop asking who failed you and start asking what must be done. That question moves energy forward instead of outward. Forward motion generates options. Complaints generate none. Difficult decisions often require abandoning narratives that protect ego. That abandonment stings because identity resists change. Identity prefers consistency even when consistency destroys progress. Choosing growth means allowing parts of your self-image to collapse. That collapse feels like loss until you realize it makes room. Room for competence. Room for clarity. Room for respect earned quietly through follow-through. The price of avoiding that collapse shows up later as regret. Regret lingers longer than pain ever does. Pressure clarifies priorities faster than reflection ever could. When stakes rise, distractions lose their charm. You discover what matters because everything else fades. This clarity frightens people who have built lives around noise. Noise numbs responsibility. Silence demands answers. Difficult decisions thrive in silence because they require honesty. Honest assessment reveals gaps between who you are and who you claim to be. Closing those gaps requires action, not explanation. Action feels lonely because it cannot be delegated. Others may advise, applaud, or criticize, but the choice remains yours. Ownership isolates before it empowers. That isolation tests resolve. Many retreat here, choosing belonging over progress. Progress rarely travels in crowds. It moves through individuals willing to stand alone long enough to build something real. Over time, results attract alignment. Until then, conviction must substitute for validation. Conviction grows only when tested. Tested conviction becomes unshakable. That stability carries through future decisions, making each one cleaner than the last. Every major improvement begins as an inconvenience. Early mornings disrupt comfort. Honest conversations threaten harmony. Discipline interrupts indulgence. These interruptions feel hostile because they challenge routines that kept life predictable. Predictability feels safe even when it produces dissatisfaction. Breaking that pattern requires courage rooted in foresight. You must value a future outcome more than present relief. That valuation changes behavior instantly. Sacrifice becomes logical instead of heroic. The mind stops romanticizing ease and starts respecting effort. Respect for effort changes self-perception. You begin to trust yourself because you see evidence of follow-through. Trust simplifies decisions. You no longer debate whether you can handle difficulty. You already have. This internal proof quiets anxiety. Quiet allows focus. Focus improves execution. Execution creates results. Results reinforce belief. The cycle feeds itself once started. Starting remains the hardest part because it demands a choice without proof. After that, proof accumulates. Time exposes indecision mercilessly. Days filled with avoidance blur together. Nothing stands out because nothing was risked. Days filled with deliberate difficulty feel longer because they contain meaning. Meaning anchors memory. Memory shapes identity. Identity influences future decisions. This chain explains why some people feel stuck despite constant motion. Motion without direction exhausts. Direction without motion frustrates. The fusion of both creates progress. Progress requires choosing what to ignore as much as what to pursue. Ignoring distractions feels uncomfortable because it removes easy dopamine. That removal creates space. Space allows thought. Thought reveals priorities. Priorities guide action. This sequence cannot occur without discomfort at the start. Discomfort acts as a gatekeeper. Those unwilling to pass through remain outside potential indefinitely. Pain serves as a compass when interpreted correctly. It points toward edges where growth waits. Misinterpreted pain feels like a warning to retreat. Interpreted accurately, it signals importance. Athletes understand this intuitively. Muscles grow only when stressed. Skills sharpen only when challenged. Character follows the same rule. Avoiding discomfort preserves weakness. Embracing controlled strain builds capability. Capability reduces fear. Reduced fear improves judgment. Judgment enhances outcomes. Outcomes reshape environment. Environment reinforces behavior. This loop favors those who choose difficulty early. Others may appear comfortable temporarily, yet comfort decays when untested. Eventually, reality demands competence. When that moment arrives, preparation answers or silence follows. Silence costs more than effort ever did. The hardest decisions often involve endings. Ending habits, ending relationships, ending self-deception. Endings hurt because they force finality. Finality removes hope that things might change without action. That hope is seductive and dangerous. It keeps people waiting. Waiting feels patient but produces nothing. Action feels risky but creates options. Options expand freedom. Freedom attracts responsibility. Responsibility demands further choices. This upward spiral intimidates those who prefer certainty. Certainty rarely exists where growth lives. Growth thrives in ambiguity guided by principle. Principles act as anchors when outcomes remain unclear. Anchors steady movement through uncertainty. Without them, fear dictates direction. Fear chooses familiarity over potential every time. Sacrifice reveals values more accurately than words. What you give up shows what you believe matters. Giving up comfort for competence signals long-term thinking. Giving up truth for approval signals fear. Each sacrifice trains future reactions. Patterns solidify quickly. Recognizing patterns early prevents regret later. Regret rarely stems from effort. It stems from avoidance. Avoidance leaves questions unanswered. Those questions replay endlessly. Completion brings closure. Closure frees attention. Free attention fuels creativity. Creativity solves problems. Solved problems elevate status quietly. Status earned through problem-solving carries weight. Weight commands respect without demand. Perspective shifts after enough difficult choices. You stop seeing them as threats and start seeing them as filters. Filters remove distractions and reveal essence. Essence simplifies life. Simplicity strengthens resolve. Resolve accelerates progress. Progress reinforces identity. Identity influences environment. Environment shapes future choices. This feedback loop explains why decisive individuals seem grounded. They have trained their nervous systems through repeated exposure to difficulty. What once felt overwhelming now feels routine. Routine competence intimidates those who still rely on emotion. Emotion fluctuates. Preparedness endures.